Hi, I'm Mash Bonigala, brand strategist. Today we're talking about FOMO. Do you know what FOMO is? Right. Okay, so FOMO is a powerful marketing technique that brands use to connect with their customers and of course to push their brands forward. So in this video, we'll be looking at what FOMO means. We'll look at a couple of case studies and then we will see how you can implement the FOMO technique in your own marketing campaigns. Now, it's really not that complicated, and you probably already know the fundamentals or even the advanced kind of techniques and strategies that go into creating FOMO campaigns. But this video is just about putting it in context on how to think of FOMO on a strategic level. Okay, yes, I know, I keep saying FOMO, but what is FOMO, right? Okay, so let's look at an example. This idea of FOMO goes all the way back to caveman time, right? So here's a small story. U and Nu are cavemen. They're out hunting and they haven't eaten anything substantial in a few days. Finally, near the end of their endurance, they come across an old, haggard, woolly mammoth that's been separated from its herd. U and Nu are able to take this lone mammoth down and are thus able to provide for their families. But as U and Nu head back to camp with the spoils, they can't help but lament the fact that they didn't get a younger, fitter mammoth, a bigger animal that would have provided more meat. Now, instead of thinking of the food they now have, U and Nu are imagining having secured an even bigger mammoth meat, right? So what is driving this mindset? It's scarcity. In modern times, this is how brands that cater to a niche audience become household names. So what is FOMO then? FOMO is the fear of missing out. That's it. It's as simple as that. And everyone has it. Everyone has FOMO. But it is important to keep in mind that the main requirement for FOMO to work effectively, your competitive advantage and your targeting. Now we'll talk about that in just a second. Now the key takeaway is that the fear of missing out creates a strong emotional reaction in us because it is the lizard brain. It is the part of the brain that goes back hundreds of thousands of years when we were cavemen, right? Human beings, Homo sapiens, just evolved from Homo erectus, the Neanderthal men. And as they were doing hunting, organized group hunting, group living, and so on and so forth, FOMO came about. It's probably one of the most fundamental kind of emotions that people have. So, luxury is FOMO, right? Think about the luxury goods industry. If you ever walked into a shop with no intention of buying anything, yet you walked out with a gold watch that you did not need, you can be sure that the salesperson used FOMO against you. FOMO is a powerful tool, but moving luxury goods is far from its only use. So FOMO is not just the domain of luxury brands. FOMO, it can be used by any brand, any company. Now, how does FOMO aid in brand building? Another way to think of FOMO is low-grade regret. When we see someone doing something exciting for fun, we want to be a part of that. Now, isn't that what fuels the entire kind of Facebook platform, right? The Facebook worldview, or even Instagram. It is, you see your friends, you see your acquaintances, the people you know doing fun things, traveling maybe, celebrating joy in their life, going out, eating out, buying stuff, new cars, new gadgets, things like that. And that creates this kind of regret. It's a low-grade regret. Sometimes it can be a high-grade regret. You can be sure that your savviest competitors are using FOMO. Social media makes it easier than ever to spread FOMO messaging. Social media marketing in particular is the FOMO marketer's dream. Now, be aware that using FOMO in 2020 consists of 1. Specific strategies that allow you to attract new customers. Strategies that allow you to skyrocket social media engagement. And, of course, FOMO marketing techniques. But FOMO depends on your brand strategy, and it goes hand in hand. Brand positioning strategy and FOMO go hand in hand. But there are two elements of brand strategy you must understand before you use FOMO kind of techniques. If you miss these two first elements, all the work you do later can be wasted. What are those? The first is that brand strategy or positioning strategy highlights your competitive advantage. Now, if you already have a brand strategy, before you want to use FOMO techniques, FOMO strategies, you better take a step back and try and find out what kind of positioning you have at the moment. And whether your competitive advantage is being sort of shown or is being brought out. That's very critical. Without a competitive advantage, FOMO won't work. Because the fear of missing out happens when you feel like you're missing out something that has some value, that is different, that you could not get elsewhere, right? And those are the ingredients of a competitive advantage. If you don't have a competitive advantage, and if you're like any other brand out there, or your product or service has, it's just another commodity, then there is no FOMO. Next, brand positioning strategy also has customer relevance. So what is relevancy, right? Relevancy is targeting the right kind of customers with the right kind of message in your positioning strategy. So you're telling the right kind of story to the right kind of people so that they sort of, become members of your tribe, of your brand tribe. A great example, Louis Vuitton knows that their service does not appeal to the common person who perhaps cannot afford them. So they will not waste resources trying to appeal to the common man or the common person. There is a bit of a conflict with this statement, and I'll explain in just a second when we talk about some kind of strategies that you can put in place. Of course, Louis Vuitton, they have an exclusivity, and yet they also try and reach the common man in a bizarre kind of a way. And we will look into that in just a second. So first, the competitive advantage. Let's just take one simple example. Whole Foods differentiated itself early on with its content marketing, right? So the content production allowed the consumer packaged goods manufacturer to become a thought leader in their space. So what is competitive advantage? Let's take a quick look at Whole Foods, who differentiated itself early on with its content marketing. Great content production allowed them to become a thought leader in their space. Whole Foods set out early to establish themselves as a thought leader. They were one of the first retail giants to eliminate plastic bags way back in 2008. They host multiple events each year, have a very active blog, and even a mobile app. Now, of course, none of these things are new, but we're talking about how a brand can set itself apart, can have a competitive advantage through their brand strategy, through content strategy, through positioning themselves. And this is just a very tiny example. What are you doing in your brand to differentiate yourself from your competitors? How are you moving away from the red ocean where you have, all your competitors fighting each other, there's blood in the water and very few customers? And how are you moving away into the blue ocean where you are unique in the sense, I'm not saying a unique product, but rather unique in the minds of your customers, in the minds of the target audience. And it could be a product or service that somebody else is already offering, right? So I'm not saying that to have a competitive advantage, to move from the red ocean to the blue ocean, that you would need to have, a product that no one else produces. That's not what I'm saying. But you could use positioning, you could use storytelling, you could use certain attributes that maybe the others have not thought about to differentiate yourself. Now, I've done a video on how, what are the factors and what are the kinds of items you can look at in terms of moving from the red ocean to the blue ocean. I will leave a link below. Maybe you can check that out. So this is competitive advantage. Next, customer relevancy, right? So Nike gears its product development towards performance athletes, and a good deal of its marketing is also targeted to this sector. Gatorade similarly positions itself as a sport drink for high-performance athletes. Yet, both products are used and enjoyed by casual athletes every day. Now, the irony and the takeaway is that neither brand would have achieved this status in our culture had they started out as a product for Joe Everyman. Now, Everyman here, Joe Everyman is a kind of a brand archetype, and I've done a whole series of videos on brand archetypes. I will leave a link below. Maybe you can check that out. So it is precisely because of tight targeting that they became cool and thus relevant. And this is going back to Louis Vuitton too. So, targeting customer relevancy is very important. I always talk about it because without targeting, without customer relevancy, there is no way that you can differentiate yourself. There is no way that you can position yourself. People think that positioning their brand is all about themselves and their target and their competitors. It is, but a big chunk of that equation, that scenario, is actually the target audience. It's the relevance that really makes the difference. So when you're looking at your brand strategy, you need to look at your kind of competitive advantage and customer relevancy. Now let's look at a couple of FOMO case studies. The first is IKEA. IKEA created scarcity by inviting a limited number of Belgium citizens to a public breakfast, right? Specifically, the company used data from its database of IKEA family cardholders. The event was advertised on radio, TV, and social media, and the public breakfast showcased IKEA's expertise in table decoration, table manufacturing, and helped promote their brand. Now, they hosted 500 people for breakfast. Food was served on an elegant 117-meter table designed by IKEA, of course. And as you might expect, once this event was put on social media and people were watching this, they got FOMO. Not only the free food, but also the whole event. And by partnering with another entity who consequently shared the cost burden, IKEA increased its brand profile. So let's just analyze what's going on here. IKEA has a campaign. They want to showcase their kind of products, which is tables, table decorations, and things like that. Now, it's not that people don't know IKEA, but it's about creating that FOMO every now and then. So they partnered with a breakfast company, a food brand, and together they came to create this awesome campaign to create FOMO. The food company also benefited because those watching this and had the FOMO, the fear of missing out, about the food too. You won't believe it, but little things like that. The thought of maybe, I don't know, losing cookies, right? That drives people to make purchasing choices. And that's why, for example, you're standing in Costco. They walk around giving you sample foods to eat. Why? Because that little thing, when you try that, and when you're walking, no, before you even try that, when you're walking around, you have that fear of missing out. You're looking at those maybe sausages or whatever being baked. It's hunger, yes, but it's also kind of, the fear of missing out. So IKEA, yeah, great case study. Next, this is a case study, it's also an experimental case study, right? A high-end women's apparel brand. Now, they use FOMO to build brand presence. They have a deep understanding of the target audience to create that FOMO. They had the ability to create stunning images of their catalog, but they lacked the ability to build the catalog itself, right? Okay. This is client A. Now, this is, of course, a case study that was done, and I will leave a link below so you can read the full case study and understand what happened there. It's the process of defining their targets, their ideal customers, and how by understanding and by identifying their target audience precisely, they can generate FOMO. And the message is precise, it's not generic. Okay, so I'll leave a link below, check it out. Very interesting. Right. Use FOMO to attract customers. How do you do that? Influencers. Utilize influencers to get potential customers to think, I want to get in on that action. So influencers could be on YouTube, could be on Instagram. Next, word of mouth. Word of mouth remains a powerful form of advertising, even in the age of social media and instant communication. People trust what their friends have to say. And of course, that could be in the form of reviews. This could be sharing on social media. And you can create powerful FOMO through that. This is exactly what all the successful brands are doing out there. FOMO, right? So take a look at your product or service and say, what can I do? What kind of a campaign can I run that creates this fear of missing out? Now, I'm not talking about artificial manipulation, about, how there's lots and lots of, you see this especially in courses, right? Online courses. And there's a whole kind of genre of videos on YouTube that talk about fake gurus and, how they create these courses, and then they market them, and on their, they market them through webinars and things like that. And that webinar, it's disguised as a kind of a free training or something like that, but it's just a pitch to sell their course, right? And at the end of that pitch, they have this scarcity, they use FOMO, but in a manipulative way. They say, only 200 available. It's a course. It's online, right? Why would they limit it to 200? And they say, okay, only today, and after that we're closing the doors to that course. We don't know when we will open it again. And if you actually go and check, those doors are open always, right? Very few genuine kind of course creators shut the doors when they say they will shut the doors. And a great example is Psychotactics. Sean of Psychotactics, you can check him out, has a number of courses. One of them is how to draw cartoons, and those courses, yeah, when Sean says that he is going to shut the doors, yeah, he does shut the doors. That's it. You cannot get in till next year. But usually it's manipulation. So I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about you coming up with artificial scarcity and manipulative kind of FOMO and pushing your customers to make the purchase. So FOMO it's a powerful tool, but it can also be a manipulative tool. So you got to be careful as an ethical brand, as a brand that is awakened. You got to be careful how you use FOMO, right? So word of mouth here, again, create a campaign that creates the genuine kind of FOMO, the fear of missing out. Exclusivity. Reduce the frequency of new product announcements. Reduce the total number of initial customers. Create loyalty or reward programs. Now, luxury brands work with exclusivity, right? In fact, you could use pricing strategies to create that FOMO. If you have an appealing product, the temptation is to sell it to everyone. But if you resist that temptation and increase the price so that only a few people can afford it, and then use that kind of that image to market the brand, it becomes appealing, right? So FOMO kicks in. And I'm not saying that then you go back to selling to everyone, but I'm just saying that these are the different pieces in the puzzle when you're thinking of marketing your brand and positioning yourself and all that. Partnerships. Seek and partner with other brands that could help you create the FOMO for your target audience, like IKEA did with the breakfast company, right? So how do you use FOMO on social media to generate more business? First, increase social media activity when you launch your new products. Okay, that's not just about FOMO, that is a generic kind of strategy. Number two, incorporate social proof into your AdWords. So FOMO works on social proof. If I see a lot of people saying that they love a certain product, whether I need it right now or not, I'll go ahead and probably buy it. This happened to me very recently. I bought the new email kind of platform by the guys who built Basecamp, right? Jason Fried, David. They came out with a new email platform called Hey, H-E-Y. Check it out, hey.com. And beautiful branding in terms of strategy, not about the visuals, but the strategy. So they created, it's invite only. Gmail did that like, I don't know what, 16 years ago. So it's nothing new, but the way Jason and David on Twitter, the way they built the brand story around it, they created this FOMO. And I was desperate for my invite, and I finally got it. Thanks, Jason. And it's a beautiful email platform. I'm going to do a video on that. It's, oh my God, how to create a brand based on not only innovation, but differentiation and, you know, all that. It's a true kind of a blue ocean brand. And I'll do a separate video. But anyway, coming back. So it's that social proof, and that's what creates that FOMO. And putting your social proof into your AdWords is effective. Number three, add a time limit and enforce it. Yes, not manipulative kind of lies. No. If you say that you have a limited edition, 200 items or 100 items, 10 items, make it so, right? If you say you're closing your doors on that particular opportunity, on that particular discount, close the doors. You say, well, most people do that, right? They announce a discount and then they close the doors, right? Yes and no. You know, because of, I mean, these discounts, they keep coming up with new discounts all the time. And that's not really creating scarcity. It's just a tactic. It's and people can see through it. Okay, number four, offer a lead magnet. Okay, so what is a lead magnet? Now I'll do a separate video on that, but just as a summary, a lead magnet is something where you give something of value to your audience in return for a means to communicate with them. And this could usually be an email address, right? So a lead magnet, and that's what it is. It's a magnet. It attracts people, but of course you're giving something valuable. You have to give something of value in return. And that lead magnets create a list of people, and then you market to that list of people and you create FOMO in that list. And lists are powerful. I'll do a separate video on lead magnets, list building, and all that. Next, create a closed group. You could create a closed group, like for example, Hey Email. That's a closed group. It's invite only, or it could be, I don't know, a Facebook group or something like that. Or next, you can hold a contest. Hold a contest and give out something of value, something related to your product, or even your product, special limited edition, just the contest holders, and people cannot buy it. That creates FOMO. And gate some of your content. Okay, so if you're in a service sector, so we've been talking about products, clothes maybe, or something like that, brands. But what if you are a service? What if content is your product, right? You're a writer or you're a video producer, then gate some of your content to create FOMO. What does that mean? For example, this video, I'm talking about FOMO. I talk about, on this channel, I talk about strategies and all that. It's free for all. But what if I create a series of videos that are gated? So there's a teaser, you can watch the teaser, and if you watch the full video, you pay for it, right? Hey, actually, that's a great idea. Maybe I can do a series of videos on exactly how to implement brand strategies and all that, and then gate them, right? There is an idea for FOMO. Okay, so that really is the end of this video. So we talked about FOMO. We talked about how brand strategy is very critical to enable FOMO. How FOMO manifests in the real world. How to create FOMO through social media. A few different steps. Like I said, it's a very simple concept. It's no big deal. It's how you implement it and the things you think about when you're implementing. That is critical. Okay, so I hope you found this video useful. If you did, like this video. And if you have any questions, leave them below and I will try and answer them. Till my next video,